Doing well, dude. Looks like we're in the midst of a bit of a pullback today, but other than that, doing a-okay. How about you?
I would say likewise. It's funny because when we did the show last week, I think we were at like 89, 90 or something like that. And we almost hit 100 and now we're down to like 94. So I guess it's all about perspective, right? The highs are high and the lows kind of feel low.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'm always like surprised to just see how aggressive the market reacts. Like it seems like when Bitcoin went from 80 to 90K, we just had alts ripping, shitcoins ripping, everything just going straight up. And now it's like a pullback from 99K to 95, and people are kind of panicking and selling off a lot of stuff. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the panic is probably a bit unwarranted, but also if you look back to last week, probably this Monday, Tuesday, I think the pullback in runes probably started on Wednesday. It did feel a bit euphoric, and in hindsight, it seems quite clear, but at the time, you just kind of get caught up in it.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think that's why it's always important to take profit on these pops, and just why, seeing the time to buy, it's usually times like right now when things are just selling off a lot and people are kind of panicking. So I think you just always got to be playing both ends of the spectrum.
Well said, man. Because if you know how to ride the waves correctly, these things all work in your favor. Um, I probably didn't sell as much as I should have, but I did have some like laddered buys out on some of my runes. I wish I did that on pups though, because man, pups took a huge dip. But yeah, lesson learned. I think again, we are talking about $2 billion rune market. Now it's like 1.6 or whatever. So it's still tiny. There's gonna be another resurgence. I have no doubt. And but yeah, it just goes to show you that it's really important to play these ups and downs with ladder out, scale back in, rather than just sitting on a hodl bag. Although if you're not an active participant in the space, maybe that's the best bet. Just sit on your bag and do nothing. But if you're kind of like looking at the charts and making moves like daily or on a fairly regular basis, then it does make sense to ladder out, de-risk a bit, and then on these pullbacks, you kind of feel good about it because you got out high and now you could get back positions at a lower price. So, um, you don't have to never necessarily be bearish to sell. It just means good profit taking.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely sold a decent amount of runes. I also sold a lot of wizard on the pump up there. I just figured leading up to the Twitter spaces that they had that there would definitely be some sort of shenanigans. I mean, I'm glad I did. Wizard was up close to $10 about a week ago. Now it's back to about $5. So it's just really interesting to see how volatile a lot of these altcoins can be. And I mean, I know you called out pups, and just the whole runes ecosystem is down about 20% in just a couple of days. So I think it's a really good strategy just to scale into stuff as we've discussed, because do think there's possibilities where this liquidation can go a little bit further and just catch people off sides who are really hyped in the 100K category. I do think crypto's pretty bid right now, just given the political landscape and just a lot of the retail investors starting to get in. But definitely always a good idea just to scale into some positions, because things can always go a little bit higher or lower than you expect in crypto. But yeah, I'm definitely buying or eyeing up a lot of things for some buy ups here, just given how far away they are from prices just a couple days ago.
Agreed. I mean, it feels like Ruins kind of initiated the sell off because I was looking during the week and I saw these zombie coins that came back from like the dead, like XRP, Stellar Lumens, Cardano, like Litecoin, like all these coins that are from, I want to say, the 2017 cycle, seem to have made massive gains over the past week. So that was like the clear tell sign that retail was bidding up crypto, and that should have been the sign that we're approaching a local top.
Yeah, that's a great call there. And I mean, even if it's not a local top for sure, I mean, I guess it is now definitely local. But it just makes sense with everything being bid that the market was going to get really distracted. It seems like when it was just Bitcoin making its initial moves, you saw stuff like puppets move up to point 0.2. you saw runes ripping, and then a lot of that just kind of got carried over into chill guy and different shit coins and XRP. So I think it's really easy for the attention economy to just move around so quickly. And I think when it was just Bitcoin that was moving, that's what had all the attention. But now when you have stuff like XRP and altcoins moving, then you're going to have people speculate and say, oh well, maybe I should get into these bags where it's a little bit more legitimate a project, or these chains that have been around for forever. Why shouldn't Litecoin, be 5 or 10x? It's been around for so long. So I can see a lot of the narratives as to why people got onto these older projects. I know Jake brought it up today, and Wake and Jake, just sort of these dino coins coming back to life. So I imagine there's just a lot of that sort of sentiment from older investors, and also just understanding that those tokens are much easier to buy still than runes makes a lot more sense again on the narrative of just you can go on Coinbase, you can go on Robinhood, most centralized exchanges, and buy those coins no problem. Still think there's a large segment of people that have no idea what runes are or how to buy them.
I mean, you said it all right there, right? What's the easiest way to buy crypto? It's probably on a Coinbase app or a Robinhood app, and all these coins reside there. So that's why it makes a lot of sense. People see that Bitcoin $100,000 number, it's like sticker shock. They know they're not going to get rich buying Bitcoin, so they buy that Cardano, like that's in the under $1 range, or the Stellar Lumens or the XRP. So it makes total sense. The unit bias is real. And I think it's going to work for Rune's favor in the future. But like for now, I just think that Runes ran really, really hard. Let's be honest, it's still way up over the past 30 days. And hey, they just had a really aggressive pullback. What are you gonna do? I mean, if you look back at the 30-day chart, like Runes, like Pups World Peace as an example, is up 42% over the month. Gizmos, up. I mean, it's probably only been around for a little bit over a month. Billion Dollar Cats pretty much flat, and then you got like the Cipher Genesis has come back over the past month. So if you zoom out, everything is fine. When you look at like a 1 week or a daily, then it looks like we've really aggressively dropped. But then you see some recovery on the 1 day on some coins too. So I think this is pretty temporary. I thought we'd have a pullback probably like coming into late this week. It just happened to happen earlier because I thought maybe with Thanksgiving coming up and like the long holiday weekend, that's where the real FOMO would kick in and retail would get in and get wrecked. But you know what? It just happened a few days early. So what are you gonna do? Kind of expected it, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think we usually do see like a mid to late November kind of pullback across the market. And if memory serves correct, we usually do see a late mid to late December pump into the end of the year, and then usually keep things pumping until mid of January. There's just so much of a narrative shift that's going on, so it's definitely understandable that the market has to process a lot of this. I think there could definitely be some sell the news outcomes. I'm also not sure how much of the speculation is driven by these rumors that Trump is going to get rid of tax on crypto companies founded in the US. I'm not sure. That one to me is just like seems a little optimistic. Especially also these reports coming out of people like Michael Saylor, buying all that Bitcoin in the 90K plus range. I'm not sure how much of that is, an attempt to get people in, or if they're trying to drive the price down now to buy more. We just don't really know because there's so many big players in the space. But I think at the end of the day, it really all just boils down to conviction, which is just something that you and I have talked about a lot on this show. And I think when you have conviction, it just makes it a lot easier to sort of tune out these moment to moment price fluctuations, because it's just so interesting having done this show with you so many times, Waf, when we talk about where good deals are for stuff, things that we really believe in, and they usually catch bounces. It's not like the price is going to stay in these points forever. So I definitely think that if there's stuff in crypto or specific to runes and ordinals that you believe in, now is a good chance to sort of get a little bit of exposure, just because if you liked it when it was double the price a week ago, you're going to love it now.
I think it's always a good idea to just take a good look at your portfolio and like ask yourself if you're happy where you're at, and if you're not, then you need to kind of go back and like reassess your process. um like if these pullbacks are like painful and hurtful, then you probably have too much at risk. You probably should be taking profits on the way up. if you take it as a normal pullback and maybe I could have had more X's instead of how many X's I have now, then I think that's kind of normal in our space, right? You can't never fully time all tops, and we know we're just at like a local top. We know there's going to be more after this. So just reassess your process if you're not happy with yourself is what I really want to say. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh man, like Bitcoin's at 94K and my portfolio is not where I want it to be, then that's like my main message. Like you probably need to reassess your process.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And I mean, just be careful with getting overzealous, right? Because I think it's really easy to think, oh man, the whole space is going to move away from me, and I need to get in now. And I think that's super normal, right? We had some really big hits in the shitcoin channel. We've had some really big hits in runes and ordinals over the past couple of weeks. So definitely, when you see that kind of price action, it's really easy to say, well, like the market's super bid, so I'm going to hop right in. And just to sort of piggyback off of what you're saying with your positioning, it's fine to be disappointed by a position being down, but if you're in a situation where you're like down on your position that you placed when things were looking really green and now you're just like panicked or getting liquidated, then there definitely should be some, consideration to that in the future. Like, how is your position going to withhold if the market does pull back 20 or 30%? Ideally, if it's something you have conviction in, you saved a little bit so that you can buy more of it. But you don't want to be in a situation where you are just like getting chopped on both ends of the market, because that's just like a really difficult position to be in mentally as well as financially. But if you're in a spot where you're just like reactive trading of, okay, ordinals are up, runes are up, let me buy into something, it's down 30%, let me sell, it goes back up, okay, let me buy, like, you don't want to just be getting double chopped, because that's just how you blow up accounts and just get really tilted. So, if you are in that camp as well, just take a little bit of a breather, recollect your thoughts, just try to find what you believe in the space, and then, approach it one day at a time. But definitely can be difficult with all this chop.
Agreed. So here it is. Like we got a kind of like a reset now on the market, right? We have a reset on runes. If you weren't in now, this could be a good opportunity. You could ride the next wave up, right? Just make sure once the wave is over, you get off, right? So we're coming up on, I believe, December 10th is the Magic Eden claim, right? And I think we could kind of slowly gain momentum into that claim, and then we could see sort of like a mid-December bounce back into the new year with runes. I think it's set up really nice where if you accumulate now for the next couple of weeks, um, you could be like well positioned for the claim, the liquidity hitting the space, and taking advantage of what I expect to see is like a Santa Claus rally here. The traditional stock market hasn't stopped moving, so we don't have any kind of like overhead um, or headwinds, I should say, that are going to be indicative of us pulling back. I think the Bitcoin 100K by end of the year narrative is going to be in full effect, and I could just see these other risk assets like runes and Arnold start to catch a bid in a few weeks.
Yeah, I completely agree, Waf. And I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things where, similar to 70K, right? That was just resistance for so long. And when you break through that resistance, you just like move it really quickly, right? So we broke through 70K, and it was like a day or half a day to take us up to 80 and then right up to 90. So things move really fast. It was a really big move from 70 to 99. So there is definitely a little bit of a gap that exists there where maybe you get a little bit of price discovery back down to it. That wouldn't super surprise me. But I think just looking at that price chart, like 70K would be the new resistance. I don't think we're going to retest that again anytime soon. Again, I think a lot of the market was just like repricing the election outcome. So I definitely think things are going to stay pretty bid here. But all that's to say is, if we do pass 100K, I imagine that really quickly brings us up to the next milestone. So, right, like just passing 100K with a little bit of force, I wouldn't be surprised if if it takes us weeks to get from 100 or 99 to 101. And then once you pass that 101, like I wouldn't be surprised if we just shoot up to 110 the next week. So it's going to move fast when it does move, but definitely got to be patient until then.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of shorts like stacking up the 100K area, so there is going to be resistance there. And also, if you just think about the move, like today we're down almost $4,000, right? And that sounds like a lot, but when Bitcoin is 97,000 to start the day or whatever the number was, it's not even 5%. It's like 4%. So the percentage is a lot smaller at these levels with the Bitcoin price being so high, right? Like if we were at Bitcoin 30K and it lost the 3 4K, like that would be huge, right? That'd be like a total bloodbath. It'd be down like 10 12%. Alts would be down probably 30 40%. But at these levels, it's 3%, it's 4%. It's really not a big deal. It feels like a big deal, but it really isn't.
Sorry about that, Waf. I was having trouble getting off mute there. Dude, I mean, well said. It's just like it's so funny where, like we see 30% moves in alts or 100% moves in like NFTs and ordinals on a daily basis. So for Bitcoin to go down 0.5% and people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a big pullback." It's literally 0.5%. So I definitely don't think it's as serious as people are thinking. I mean, my conviction in Bitcoin is as strong as ever. Like it's just one of those things that I want to hold forever. It is difficult to sell it. Like I just have a very hard time actually saying like, okay, we're approaching 100K. Let me sell some and take profit. I more so just see that as something where it's like, all right, we're back down. Like I'm gonna, you know, buy more of it with liquidity that I have on the sides and just continue to accumulate Bitcoin. I definitely think runes and ordinals are a little bit easier for me to sell because I think that there are going to be a lot more opportunities to sort of catch those ranges. But Bitcoin, I mean, I just have so much conviction in it, so it's really hard to imagine it going anywhere. And again, as we've talked about, I just think that people are going to want a chunk of that mother chain when they're where they can get it. As you said, 100K sticker shock, crazy. Most people aren't going to be able to get that, but hey, you can get an ordinal or some runes for a fraction of that. So I still think it's a very appealing thesis to look into ordinals and runes.
There was one thing you said there that's actually pretty interesting because, you know, Bitcoin is something you want to hold and keep. So maybe like people are viewing it as so valuable that they don't even want to gamble with it, right? So like that could be, and when you think about the total dollar amount, even though these like runes and ordinals are down in terms of Bitcoin, they're still quite high from like a dollar perspective, right? So as long as Bitcoin continues to rise, would it be surprising, like if you know this to play sort of like the contrarian, that these things stay at the same price in terms of Bitcoin, but as Bitcoin, rises, their value will go up in USD, but not necessarily in satoshis.
Yeah, that's definitely the interesting dynamic of it all. And I think we'll probably see a lot more of that balance itself when Bitcoin stabilizes. Because, we hung around the 60 to 70K band for so long. And it was during that period that we really saw puppets and node monkeys catch up again and sort of breathe life into ordinals. And then, when Bitcoin ripped, we definitely saw runes kind of go with it. And now people might be a little uncertain, trying to lock in some profit if they have some. But I would say if we can get back into that like floating around 95 to 100K range and we just see ourselves chop in a little bit, it might be out of boredom. It might be out of just like feeling more comfortable with that USD stabilization. But I think, once price stabilizes with the underlying cryptocurrency, we'll definitely see some more moves with ordinals and runes.
All right. Having said all that, now, if you want to get a little bit more micro, have you been looking at the market at all? Is there anything you're like kind of like dabbling back into, or anything like that? Like I've been looking at some ordinals. I noticed node monkeys were down to like zero point 0.1. I thought that was like super cheap, so I've had my eye on a few of those. I did notice the new drop today. Airheads, I don't think it did that well. I see the floor price is sitting at like 0.0041. I kind of passed on that one. I wasn't really feeling that whole vibe they were putting out there. And then, I'm looking at puppets at 0.142. Like that's kind of low from where it was. I think it hit like 0.20 like maybe 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Monday was sitting at 0.20. So you got a good 30% retracement on Bitcoin puppets. And Bitcoin Wizards sitting there at 0.13. I feel like with where everything that's coming with Bitcoin Wizards, I think that's also quite quite low, and then the same thing with Pizza Ninjas sitting at 0.082. I think that's probably like criminally underpriced. So I am looking at some ordinals. As far as runes go, I've noticed like with the pullback that minting new runes have been like minus EV, so I've kind of like slowed my roll on minting new runes. But I have been looking to add Pops because I think Pops has just had like a ridiculous pullback, almost like 50% in like a few days. So I feel like even if that bounces back a little bit, that's a good play. And I think Cypher Genesis, I mean the AI, I think that one's still doing well. And we have that overall AI meta that's out there, and this seems like to be the best one on Bitcoin. So I am still bullish Cypher Genesis, and at 28 Sats, I think it's still quite a buy. Um, and then you obviously you got the leader dog go to the moon. I think that one like the market cap's quite big. It can move up a little bit, but it's not something that I'm looking to add. And then I think $1 billion cap, man, this is like the one that's been the most steady. It hasn't even like really fallen off a cliff during this pullback. It's actually held quite strong. So this one could be like really, really the true winner of the entire cycle. And I know this is one we've probably been talking about for months and months on end. But I think it's showing a lot of strength, and that we always talk about when we have pullbacks, like the coins that show relative strength seem to come back the quickest. And and Solana was always the one that we always talk about. Like whenever there's a pullback and then the market bounces back, Solana like rips. I think $1 billion cat is like that rune, where once we start going green, I think $1 billion cat's like going to the next level.
Yeah, just so much there that I agree with WAF. I mean, starting with Billion Dollar Cat, it's crazy. We've been talking about it since it was sub 10 million. So it's really just turned into a beautiful position and a great play. I think they just have the community on pat, and it's just really nice that it's like so easy to meme it. Especially with the other Billy on Solana no longer being much of a presence, it really just seems like it's something that I could see getting listed on multiple exchanges. Last week saw a lot of stuff get listed on OKX for the first time, which was great because it brought some volume into the space and kind of opened up the, potential for runes to go mainstream. I did have my dad call me and tell me that one of his friends was telling him about Doggo to the Moon and also pups. So I thought that that was just pretty interesting. Like when you get the sort of the normie world filter in and start bringing up runes, I think that's great. It's still not super easy to buy runes. I think that's just like most people aren't going to have a dedicated Bitcoin wallet set up. And most people aren't going to understand how to navigate that. So, still waiting for more integration. I definitely think when we saw NFTs in their heyday, there was mobile wallet apps. It was a lot more simple to buy things. So, still, again, acknowledging that there's a bit of an information curve of just how to access these assets is important. Also wanted to circle back to your comment on Airheads today with their launch. I was pretty surprised, honestly, that the launch wasn't very successful. I know that they had, I don't remember the company that the CEO had, but they had a pretty major sex CEO, involved with launching that. So I really thought that we were going to see a higher floor price, at least something above mint. I will say, like, I don't think it's the worst idea to scalp some of that stuff now off the mint because there is just such a big name associated with it. So I also think there's probably a decent chance that people don't realize the size has like a large factor in it. I took a look and saw just like the trait rarities are pretty much the same for everything. It's very evenly distributed, but it seems like size was the big one because there was different size prices for mints. So I saw that there was some like smalls at the same floor as extra smalls. I would imagine that gets corrected. Obviously, there's a chance that the whole collection just drifts lower. In that case, it's not really an oop. But if you can find any sizes at the other size prices, right? If you can find a medium for the same price as a small or the small for the same price as an extra small, it definitely seems like those would be a no-brainer play. And again, just given the notoriety of the founder of this project, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one that catches a bid in coming days. So, not financial advice, but I think there is a play there. But I'm with you, Af. Don't think the project did super well today, given just how much hype was behind it.
Yeah, so they were selling their whale passes for 0.069, and I just thought like that was felt kind of cash grabby. And by the way, it's Arthur Hayes who's kind of like behind this, so the founder of BitMEX. I don't know how much he's involved in it, but he's definitely backing it in some capacity. But so basically, their whole shtick, I guess, is that if you're a whale, you get a fatter character and you pay more, right? And then if you're not a whale, or if you're skinnier, you pay for a skinnier character, and the whole point is to be like, I guess, as fat as possible or something to that effect. And I think there was maybe like 25 or 35 whale passes that they were selling, sort of like kind of like over the counter before this release happened, before this appeared on the launch pad on Magic Eden, and everything else was like more like whitelist or public. I don't know if this made it to public. I'm pretty sure I had like a whitelist. I just didn't even mint it, and then I even got offered the whale pass. But once I heard the price, I was like, yeah, no thanks. I just felt like it was like a donation. Like I wouldn't pay 0.069 for this thing like at all. And if you look at the floor now, it's 0.00399, and they had 1.39 Bitcoin of volume. And if that was like their daily volume or like a day 3 or day 4 or something like that, I would feel like that's okay. But it just launched today, and like that's their volume, 140K. Like I just don't think this is gonna do that well.
Yeah, I mean that's just like a major flop, right? Like you get literally an exchange dropping in Ordinal. We haven't had a hype Ordinal drop in a while. So well said, Waf, for it to do like 1.5 Bitcoin on launch. Usually you just see so much selling. I do think like part of it is just looking. It seems like a lot of the characters haven't rendered fully, unless I just wasn't doing it right on my end, which is entirely possible. It's one that I had on my radar, but I just like didn't think the market sentiment was right today. I mean, candidly, I've been distracted on just buying some Solana dips today and just trying to get some perp orders in on Solana and Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see that this one flopped. But again, like I still think there might be a play there. It's not financial advice, but just keep how it develops, because if we do get sort of a big pop out of Bitcoin over the next couple days and kind of get a resurgence in some of these ecosystems, I could see a lot of people running into, oh man, like let me get the hot thing. Hey, this one never really had a full rip. Like all it takes is just one big volume spike and get things going. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But to your point, Waf, it might just be DOA.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna be talking about any new upcoming mint that I think could actually be really well, like actually more than really well, like a legit drop, it's got to be the 10K Bitcoin Wizards drop, right? I think that one, like there's no way that one fails, right? Right? I can't imagine.
It's funny you should say that, because Nomad will find a way to make it fail. All joking aside, I do think it's going to be an absolute cook. To your point, another reminder here to check out the Bitcoin Wizards mission on the MVHQ app. I think that's wrapping up in a couple days here. And again, the light alpha shared last week is that we're going to try to work with Nomad to get some additional allocation for our community. We will see how that turns out. Nomad is like a really bad communicator, and these shows are internal, so I have no problem saying that. But yeah, wow, like it's crazy. I just have seen the price of Wizard go from $10 to $5 in a week. It's lost over 500 holders in that same time span, and it's not really surprising, to be honest. Like it just seems like they had the absolute layup of the century, especially with Bitcoin releasing. You had Kraken last week literally tweeting out magic internet money in regards to Bitcoin. So even people who don't realize that it's like a rune know of the phrase magic internet money. It seems like at this point, all they would have had to do is just migrate to the rune, and it would probably be a top 3 rune overnight, if not the top rune overnight. Like, I think it's just a gimme to be close to $1 billion market cap. So it is very weird, in my opinion, that they decided to launch not only this 10K collection, but for those keeping up over the weekend, they announced like OG holders of the Wizard uh, PFP. So the one that Silva's rocking right now. I know you have a couple left, but that Bitcoin Wizard Ordinal, where there's 1,300 of them. Holders of that got this witches airdrop coming to them, so they're going to be getting a certain amount of witches. I know if you hold the witches and the ordinal, like the coin and the new ordinal coming out, you'll be able to get a free wizard PFP. But it's just getting complicated, right? Like I'm just confusing myself saying all this out loud, and it's just such word jumble. And like that's kind of what they're doing with wizard, right? It's like all they had to do was migrate to Magic Internet Money. Now you have sort of this side ecosystem with all these additional assets forming. If I had to guess why, it's probably just because the team wanted to fundraise some money for themselves. Like they tried to do that with the initial allocations of Magic Internet money, and the community didn't like it. So I'm not super surprised. I think this is like Nomad and Maven's attempt to secure the bag and just get everything in one place. But in my opinion, it wasn't handled super well. I think it would have been better if they just released the token Magic Internet Money and maybe snipe some. But here we are. So all that to say, it's still going to be an absolutely successful project. Definitely going to be something to mint if you can get it. But it is just bizarre that they have like gone down this really non-linear path to releasing Magic Internet Money.
Maven's bot is one of the strangest guys in the space, and he's just gonna he's gonna fud his own stuff, right? So if you think about it, though, like Wizard was at about $10 maybe on Wednesday last week, and now it's like $5. So if that's not an opportunity, I don't know what is. But this Bitcoin witch stuff, right? I don't know where it came from, but I got airdropped this Bitcoin witch coins too, and apparently, like the market cap of this rune is like $30 million. It doesn't have like a lot of trading because apparently, so you do get the Bitcoin wizard if you hold your airdrop, but if you sell your airdrop, you don't get the Bitcoin wizard. So like now you kind of like a forced holder of this rune. And I agree with you. Like when things start getting like too complicated and you can't follow, it's like you need to start playing an exit soon because like just to go back to the 2021 2022 days, I had captains and potatoes and staking them, and I had a Kong and these cubs and these ord cubs, and it was like you had to build a whole like team and stake it, and then you accumulate like these weekly drop. Like it just became so ridiculous I couldn't even follow it anymore. So I don't want to deal with any ecosystem that gets overly complicated, and I'm relying like of having like too much bags like tied up to like one person's, I don't know, like influence in the space. So like I don't want to be holding so much stuff that Maven's bot says something and then like I lose 50% because he decided he wanted to FUD on a time that I wasn't ready to exit the system yet. So it does give me pause, but at the same time, I do see the opportunity with the price being low right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Waf. And I mean, I just remember like I originally started buying Wizard. I mean, I think I first bought it at like $1.80 and then sold out completely the first time it reached like $8. And then I started buying back in around like $7 or so, and dollar cost averaged it down to 4. But when it ripped back up this cycle to $10, I was just like, what the hell? It was at $1.30. I should have loaded the boat. So there's still potential for like the price to come back down. And I do think it is a really great buying opportunity. Like you said, like it's down 50% in just a couple of days. They're going to continue to fund the project. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as they launch Magic Internet Money. So that is like the one caveat, right? If the rune never launches and it just never happens, like yeah, that would be bad, and I would imagine Wizard goes to zero or close to it at some point. But as long as they release Magic Internet Money, all is forgiven. I'm sure that rune goes crazy, and it's going to be good. Like I think the math right now is about $130 million market cap just based on the current price. So there's still a lot of room for upside. I've already started buying back a lot of the stuff that I've been selling at the top, just kind of dollar cost back in. So, buying it right now around $5, I think is solid. But I'm definitely leaving a solid chunk of just like Bitcoin on the side so that if it goes back to $2 or $3, I'll definitely be buying a lot more of it.
Yes, I know they had disclosed the migration date at like February 18th. So I could see us moving like steadily up until that date. Now, if there's a delay or something like that, that could be the risk in holding up until that date, right? Because you saw this massive sell off. Although this wasn't just a Bitcoin Wizard event. It was more like complete market event, I would say. But
Yeah.
I could see a pullback happening if they miss their date to migrate.
Yeah, 100%. But I think to your first point, like I think it's a great play to anticipate a run up going into it. So I know some people, like to play those binary event plays. I know a lot of people played like Gensler stepping out of office. So I know that once he announced that, you kind of got a nice little run up and then things cooled off. So I wouldn't be surprised specifically with Wizard if we see a big run up leading up to the migration. If the migration happens, the price will probably stay the same or maybe go up slightly. And then it might cool off a little bit after that. But I definitely think buying Wizard, a few months ahead of that migration date, pretty solid chance we run up pretty aggressively beforehand. And then just depends how you want to play it, right? Like I'm personally gonna, if we do get a really solid run up into the migration, would certainly sell a good chunk of my bag just to like cover my ass in case they decide to cancel it or move it back or whatever. Like we saw with the Twitter space, they went into that Twitter space with a $10 floor price, and then as soon as he said, "Oh, we're just canceling it," it fell down to $8 that same day.
Would not be surprising at all. And I think in this market you have to be really careful with these risky plays because we do see like Bitcoin going up and obviously Ethereum and Solana like extremely stable and also going up. Like you just don't want to like fuck up this cycle and like mess with your bag. So even though we're playing in these like degenerate spaces, be mindful that like right now, like you can make life changing money in like the major coins, and you don't need to have like a huge amount of your bag in like these ultra risky kind of things. And I mean, like you look at like I'm sure this probably came up earlier today, but like pump.fun, like the total degeneracy that's going on in pump.fun now, it has like gone to like a next level to like capture the attention span of this space. So like if that's like what people are doing now, then like you know whatever sector you're in, like the attention is not going to be there for long, right? So when something pumps, like we got like attention spans of like of an X post, right? It's like 280 words or less, and that's it. No more attention span. We're on to the next thing. So if something pumps, it's probably a lot better to take profits on it, not thinking it's gonna like do another 100x later because the attention economy, and there's only so much of it to go around, is real, and you can see it by like the total degeneracy of what's going on in Pump That Fun.
Yeah, well said, Waf. I mean, they did talk about it earlier today, so you nailed that. But yeah, like I've really felt that personally that there's just like too much speculation into stuff. And I'm not saying that in a way of like, oh yeah, like how could you? Because I get it, right? It's like it's super appealing, but I definitely would just sort of take note of when investing or speculating becomes just straight up gambling. And I would attribute most of that, like you're saying, to pump fun, right? It's just like there's 30,000 meme coins coming out every single day. Everyone wants to get into the next chill guy or whatever the next 500 mil runner is going to be. So it's very easy to have this sort of like narrative of, oh, this could be the one that goes to 100 million, or this could be the one that makes me $1 million. Like, I don't disagree, right? That's totally possible. And people are hitting it in this group and getting out of the trenches. But you definitely still need to play within the means of your bankroll, and like it can be great to just take profit. So it's not to say don't take those plays at all, but to your point, like just sell a little bit along the way, right? If you can hit a 2x and sell 50%, great. Keep the whole bag if you want to do it, but just be careful out there because like stuff just rotates so damn quickly in this space that it's very difficult to get something that just moon missions. And like even though you see a moon mission every day where something hits 100x, there's 999 other projects that launch the same day that go straight to zero. So you just kind of have to keep all that in mind, take profit when you can, and just like try to zoom out a little bit on, is your bankroll moving in the right direction overall? If it is, great, just keep doing what you're doing, keep crushing it. But if it's just like really just chasing attention and you seem to just keep buying things as they're pumping, might be the good time to just slow down a little bit and try to plot a course that's a little more even keeled.
Totally agree. And I'm not saying don't play it at all. Like, yeah, play it, but play it with like 1% of your portfolio or something, or cap it at some whatever number you're comfortable, but don't blow the cycle because we probably have, I don't know, 12 months left of this maximum, and then we know what happens during the bear. So you just don't want to blow like real money in this when you have this opportunity just to where like pretty much if you just sit still and hold pat on your bags, like you're probably gonna do well. Doing like literally doing nothing, you probably do well. So don't go blowing it trying to chase every next, 1000x. Having said that, yeah, you want to throw a few bucks at it and try and hit one. And there's so many people in this space in our Discord are completely capable of doing that. Then yeah, absolutely go for it, because like there's definitely that opportunity to turn $100 into like $1 million. Like I'm not saying that's not there, but recognize like it's the 0.001% chance of doing that, and so don't throw um, significant bags at it when you're trying to do that.
100%. And like I think a lot of it again just goes to um like a deeper psychological trading discussion. And yeah, I've appreciated the episodes of Boss Dogs where we just talk about bankroll management and we talk about risk. And I know Jake and Jinzo do a great job of that on the shitcoin talks. But just in all of crypto, it really is just about maintaining your composure and not being paralyzed by a market move. Because we're not calling anyone out in a mean way, by the way. Like we're saying this out of love and just trying to lift everybody up and become better traders here. But if you're like getting into a situation where a move against you has you glued to the chart and you're like, it can't go any lower than this, can it? Like that's already, you've lost the battle if you're like at a place of depression or just feeling sad because the price moved against it. And we got resources here, we got your back if you need to come in and vent. Like it's totally fine to be down and about. Like we all want our bags pumping, feeling good. But you definitely want to make sure you're leaving yourself in a spot where you can still mentally navigate what's going on with the price, reevaluate objectively if you're in good positions or not. And sometimes you got to sell for a loss, and like that's totally okay too. There's not a single trader on the planet who's never had a trade work against them. Like it happens literally to the best traders in the world. So don't beat yourself up if you end up selling something and say, "Hey, this is wrong. I gotta recalibrate and then come back later."
Well said, well said. I mean, most days, honestly, I don't really do anything. Like I just kind of watch the market, track some mints. Maybe I mint something, but for the most part, like I'm not really doing much. And I think I'm just sort of like, because you don't have to do something every day. I guess that's the main point, really. You don't have to, and especially in a market that's now um, so it's still hot, right? When we had a few day cool down, like we're such a hot market, like bags are just normal, just naturally mooning just because of Bitcoin price. So, um, just again, like, and I listen to Raoul Paul a lot, right? He always says, like, don't fuck up this cycle. I feel like this is the cycle, like, you cannot fuck up. So, like, this, and like, to your point, too, not pointing out anybody, because, like, honestly, I'm just speaking generically, and in generic terms, but I just want to see like everybody kind of do well. So like that's like my message to everyone is just be mindful of what you're doing, because like we got great opportunity in these next 12 months to make like some serious gains.
Dude, I like cannot. I should never take this show on mobile again. The mute button is just so finicky. Super well said there, Waff. I gotta check out this Rao Paul guy. I've never heard of them.
He's like 90% in Solana this whole cycle, so I think he called that pretty well. He was in Sui. He's like a macro visionary kind of guy. So I like hearing his perspectives on things. Like he was anticipating the liquidity cycle coming, and he's the one that coined the banana zone, right? We always talk about banana zone. That's
Oh, dude.
that's directly from him. You could buy that banana zone T-shirt from like his website. But yeah, so I do like listening to what he has to say. It's like from like a macro perspective.
That is awesome. I'm definitely gonna be buying a Banana Zone t-shirt. Are we in the Banana Zone yet? Has he commented on that?
Oh yeah, yeah. We entered the banana zone a few weeks ago. So yes, we are officially in the banana zone.
Oh man, there you go. So things are already bananas and maybe getting even more bananas. But great segue there, Waff. I feel like we touched base on everything ordinals, and I just love your call out, by the way, for not doing not doing something every single day. I'm in the exact same camp. Like I definitely think about the market a lot, and I've been trying to read about the market a lot. But a lot of it's just like sitting still. I'd say the biggest thing I do is just buy dips on things that I've pre-committed to dip buying, right? It's not like I just see stuff and I'm like, yes, like I'm gonna just buy this because it's dipping. But there are definitely tickers where I'm like, this is my horse. I'm gonna ride this. If it dips to this price, I'm gonna buy this much, and then if it dips again, I'm gonna buy this much. So I'm just like monitoring my bags as they dip. I buy more. As it goes up, I sell out. It's like as simple as that. So really appreciate you, calling that because I do think it's easy to just overtrade in general in crypto. It's just crazy that there's shitcoins that come out by the thousands every day and NFTs and exchanges and this and that. So like it is the hardest space I think to sit still in, but that's why it can be so rewarding to just be patient sometimes because it allows you to find stuff like this where the things you wanted are now on sale and you can make great trades out of them.
Yeah, and it's always good. Like, it's always good when like something you're anticipating is about to come out, and you got something to look forward to and kind of prepare for. So, like, we were talking about Bitcoin Wizards, right, a little while ago, and I want to say the second collection that I think is very interesting is based on, our guest from last week, right? Chris Coffee came on. He talked about pizza pets. I think that one's gonna be pretty interesting. Like, it's gamified, right? Like this kind of like the Tamagotchi on Bitcoin, right? I think, and then I guess if you make it to the end, you makes it to the collection. So I think that's actually pretty cool. We haven't seen something like that from like an ordinal perspective. We had that pre runes Gob. Do you remember Gob? That was like a gamified
No, of course.
version, right? So like I think that was like the first time I seen something like that. So this seems to be like the same thing, but on the ordinal side. So I think that it's gonna be kind of cool, kind of interesting. I don't know how well it will actually perform, because it's always sort of like a derivative price of the OG collection, right? So, and we don't know how many pizza pets are gonna make it to the end. But like if pizza ninjas are, let's just say they're like point 0.1, like these things might eventually be like 0.02 at the end. And then Chris had mentioned, like, having to, I don't know, feed it and drink it and give it water, whatever other things, or let it be drunk or give it coffee or whatever the things you have to do. Those on-chain activities cost you money, right? So then you might be more incentivized to keep it alive. And then I don't know how long the game is, right? But at the end of the game, if you threw in, like, I don't know, zero point zero 0.02 or zero point zero 0.03 at it, just to keep it alive, like maybe that becomes the floor price, right? And then I don't know if there's rarities and stuff. So so many things to think about. I think it's kind of interesting to see like that level of creativity in the space. It just kind of keeps things interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm really excited for it just from a fun perspective. Like, I had a Tamagotchi as a kid, so it's definitely nostalgic, but it's funny that it can just like die. And, I'm glad we had Chris come in here and talk about how he thinks that you'll likely get sort of the effort you put into it out of it. So I know he said that's not a guarantee, but definitely seems to be something that'll be fun to do. Right now, sats are pretty low. So I think in terms of just like feeding the pet and taking care of it that way, it'll be interesting to see. It'd be also interesting to see if like Bitcoin rips up again and then sats get high just with people buying Bitcoin, how that'll impact the game. But it'll be really cool. Like I remember with Gobs, you could, I think start them in a game or something and like 1 in 40 would make it. And then you could continue to get to the next level. And I do remember those that like progressed through multiple stages did have a pretty high floor price. So I'm sure the ones that make it through will have a little bit of premium on them. Um, what the market interest is going to look like on that. I'm sure it's dependent on what kind of utility it has in terms of the Discord. Obviously, Pizza Ninjas are down a little bit, but we saw Pizza Ninjas sell off pretty aggressively beforehand, and they made their way back even after the launch of Runes to above a 0.12 floor. So yeah, definitely an exciting project coming out, and I think it'll be fun to play and see where the project goes.
I don't know if you recall this one. Maybe it was like a year ago. There was a mobile like Tamagotchi version on base that was like on your phone, and then I don't know if it was Tamagotchi, but it was like you had a pet. I forgot the name of the app, but it was like one of those things you add like the bookmark to your iPhone, and then it was connected to base, and like that did pretty well for a while, before it died off. And I think that would be the only risk, is that if it's boring, then people are not going to do it. But still, nevertheless, I think on Bitcoin should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see. I mean, it's not a unique concept, unfortunately. Like you said, like the Tamagotchi thing has been done a bunch in crypto, but I don't think we've seen anyone knock it out of the park in terms of like the execution of it. So, I mean, based on what Chris has shown us and just talking with the Pizza Pets team, I'm very excited for it, and like I think if anyone can do it, it's Trevor and Co. And I know Blessed is running some marketing for them and stuff. So it's a lot of people that we know, and we know that they're builders and they have like a pretty solid vision. So it'll be exciting to see. But yeah, definitely like understanding the landscape here as well, just with ordinals. Like I'm not like super bullish moon boy on it, just because I think ordinals as a whole is just sort of hurting right now. But it's definitely going to be the most interesting project aside from Bitcoin Wizards.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, I think the only thing that I know is coming out soon is the Sats Pump Fun. But again, that's gonna be like on Fractal. Um, so it's probably worth monitoring to see like how it plays out. But besides that, I'm not really too excited about so many things that are coming out. It's just more of what's kind of out there already. Maybe there'll be a rune mint that catches a bid and is hot, but there's nothing sort of like on the calendar that's scheduled to come out that I'm really looking that much forward to. I do think there is a rune that's going to drop, but this is a little bit of alpha. It's supposed to be like one of those again, like one of those uh, AI bots um, that I've heard from like a different group. Like they're planning on um, doing that in like over the next, I think, 7 days. Like that one could come out. Don't even know the name yet, but I'm on the lookout for like a new AI rune token that should be backed by a particular team that's known in the space. I think they, I think it's the X website is at Crypto Eternal AI on X. I'm gonna drop a link in VC chat. So this is one I would monitor. I got it from a good source that this one should be like pretty all right.
Oh heck yeah! No, appreciate the alpha there, Wow. I'm checking this out. I've definitely heard of Crypto Eternal before. Take a look here. Um, let's see. You dropped it in voice hangout.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it right now.
Okay, dope. Getting the live reaction going here. Eternal AI. Let's see.
Oh, there we go. We have a date. So it is coming up today at some point. Then I haven't seen it yet.
No way. Fully on-chain AI agent. Yeah, that's huge. I think this is definitely a no-brainer mint if you're able to get it here. I think it's a pretty clear thesis. You got two things going on for you here. Eternal AI, which has 30,000 followers on Twitter, so that's pretty solid. Let me just scout the engagement before I make any claims here. Just see how it's looking. Yeah, I definitely think here with 30,000 followers, their engagement seems decently in line with what you'd get with that. So I think it's, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few thousand numbers fraudulent, as you can assume from most accounts. But it definitely seems like that's legit in terms of having those followers. And I mean, the biggest thing is just Cypher Genesis. That came out what like a month ago, and just such an astounding reaction from rune holders and buyers because of that AI narrative. So even though AI tokens are pulling back a lot today, I've seen some on Solana down as much as 50%. I think the space as a whole is pretty big. I would imagine this AI dip gets eaten up. And if there is a new AI agent, which would be a first for Bitcoin, as far as I know, like one that's fully autonomous there, that would be huge. So definitely think that's one worth looking at. Hopefully, we can get a ping from some MVHQ members once that goes live. But yeah, definitely think with Sats being so low, I would send that with some high prio and hope to mint a couple.
Yeah, I would say if you catch this early, if someone pings in and sees it, because I'll probably be away. Um, Even if sats are low, like don't go too low, right? Because once people catch on that this is out, sats are gonna increase like pretty rapidly, and those early mints you sent at low sats are not gonna go through. So I would send it with like a little bit more, a little bit extra juice to make sure you get it.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, Lap. I'm honestly not like sure how high to send that. Like I don't know if you want to spend enough to do like 100 sats. It might be worth it because like it could just use. You could also just wait for secondary, and like we saw stuff with Cipher Genesis, like it did sell for a good amount the day after mint. But it's still like 10x from there. So I would just keep an eye out on it. But it looks like again the Twitter seems to be legit, so I don't think it's going to be like a rug. seems like they have a big enough name to get it going. And the AI narrative, really appreciate that alpha call off. I think if it's today, I would just be glued to my screen until that comes out. That should be a no brainer mint. NFA, I have no idea how it's going to do, but I think it is worth minting that from an EV perspective.
All right, cool, cool. All right, so I know we're coming up on the hour. We're coming up on a holiday weekend. Um, any last thoughts that you have?
Just candidly, I am spending like a lot of time buying Solana or looking to scale into it, as well as understanding the AI ecosystem as it emerges. I'm just really excited for the tech over there. Obviously, this is the Ordinal show, but like we mentioned, I think there's only so many moves you can make right now with Ordinals and runes. So I would just, with Ordinals and runes, take the patient approach, have stuff that you're lined up and excited to buy. Really excited about this new AI project today, WAF. I'll definitely mint a few of those if I can catch it and then hold those for a couple of days. But other than that, I just think right now is the time to be locked into the trenches, be glued to where the meta and the narrative is going. Get ready to buy some juicy dips when they're there. And other than that, I think just take it slow day by day and hopefully we can all cook.
Speaking of cooking, any cool Thanksgiving plans for Mr. Rossboss?
Dude, no, my family is just like notorious having shitty Thanksgivings family with relatives getting worked up. So I'm just going to make it through.
Ah, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Usually Thanksgiving is a great time in the Wafdawg house. We'll have a lot of food, have football on the TVs. A lot of people hanging out, just having fun. So I am excited for that. And this my final thoughts on the market. I think we got a nice healthy pullback. I think it's nothing unusual, nothing to worry about. Could be a little bit prolonged right through the weekend, I think, maybe, and then we get that December rally, the Santa Claus rally. I think starts probably maybe in 2 weeks or so. Leading up to that Magic Eden airdrop, which it's not Bitcoin only; it's every ecosystem, right? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, like the Solana whales are gonna get probably capture the majority of that Magic Eden token, right? So I think it's gonna boost the whole all of crypto, not just Bitcoin. But I think a lot of people that play runes are gonna get a lot of it too, and I think runes should pump as a result. I think Bitcoin will tease 100K pretty much every single week, like from now to the end of the year. We'll hit 98, 99, come back down to this level, and then at some point we'll break through, and we'll break through. I think pretty violently when we do, because then I think after that, if you go by the Fibonacci extensions, you're talking about a Bitcoin price of probably like 111. So once we break that resistance, I think we fly.
I love that WAF. And I'm stoked, by the way. I hope you and the WAF dog family have a very happy Thanksgiving. And for everyone who celebrates, be safe. Have a very happy holidays, however you are celebrating. And, you always got the MVHQ fam here for those without. But yeah, wow, super well said, man. I definitely think once we break through on the fib, we're gonna go absolutely flying. I do really love the thesis of just whales carrying us, and I think the Magic Eden drop is December 5th. Is that the right date?
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was the 10th, but if it's the 5th, then just move everything up by 5 days.
Oh no, I might be wrong on that. I was just pulling that from my mind. Let's see. Yeah, December 10th. You're so right. Okay, so we have, yeah, a week or 2 weeks from tomorrow. So it's gonna be juicy. I'm very interested in seeing where it goes. I honestly don't have my hopes that high just after the whole blast thing and having farmed so much blast gold and just have it be way lighter than expected. I do think Magic Eden's been crushing it, and like it is going to be interesting to see. Like I know last time when we had like a platform give it to us without really needing to like extra farm it, it was probably like looks rare or maybe blur and blast, or sorry, not blast, just blur, and that was pretty much a cook for the first go around. But I'm imagining this one was farmed decently hard, so we'll see. I've seen some people estimate like it's going to be a 1-to-4 ratio of diamonds to the Magic Eden token, which I just don't think is true. I'm guessing it's going to be closer to like 150 diamonds for every Magic Eden dollar, maybe like 150 or 100 to 1. So I definitely don't think it's going to be as big a cook as some people think, but it's still going to be a free stimmy for everyone in the space. So totally agree that people are going to cook and then rotate those funds elsewhere.
I mean, expectations being tempered is better than to have high expectations, and I don't really feel like in the space there's like necessarily super high expectations, which I think is actually a good thing because when you have high expectations, it usually disappoints and then it flops, right? So I've been hearing like basically 2 cents per diamond seems to be like the consensus. I think the people that are a little bit more bullish have it as high as 5 cents per diamond. And as far as like farming it, like I didn't farm it, so maybe I'm like out of the loop. I don't know if people were really actively farming it. And then I think they did say, I guess they're going to do something, which I don't know what they're going to do exactly to, um, I guess cancel out, like I want to say like non-natural movement or transaction. So I think if you're buying like a NFT or an ordinal and selling it the next day to kind of farm the Magic Eden diamonds. I don't know if they have a way of necessarily kind of canceling that out, and or not giving that person like their claim. I don't know. But I think overall, knowing that it's going to be listed on Coinbase perps and stuff like that, it does make me feel a little bit more bullish about it, probably more than I imagined maybe from a couple weeks ago. So I do think it's going to be a nice stimmy, and I think it's probably timed like perfectly. Like you couldn't have timed it any better. On top of that, like in the middle of this bull where Bitcoin just hit all time high. I think it's like a perfect timing from Magic Eden's part. Whether that was intentional or pure coincidence and just lucky, I don't know. Probably was just lucky, but I do think that plays to our advantage.
Yeah, super well said, Waf. I mean, couldn't ask for better timing. And I think you're honestly right about that. Like, usually when expectations are high, it comes in soft. So I know, like, for Blast Gold, people were expecting $10 for gold, and like, it just kept getting kind of pushed back. And then there was an extra phase to it. So it got diluted a little bit, and then et cetera, et cetera. So I think that was one where people were just really, really glued in on intentionally farming it. For this one, to your point, hopefully they filter out a lot of that wash trading nonsense where people would just be raking in the cash. But yeah, I mean, that'd be sick. If it was 5 cents a diamond, I definitely think people would cook to some extent. Obviously, the higher it gets, the better. And we'll see. It is one of those tokens like Magic Eden's pretty hot, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see the instance of it airdrops and then doubles the next day, right? That used to be the case for stuff like Blur and stuff like Looks Rare. Like it would drop and then the next day it would be worth double. And I feel like since then we've kind of changed the narrative a little bit, or sort of the chart post launch has been a lot of stuff launching and then immediately going down 50% next day. So it'll be really interesting to see the dynamic. I think it'll be a really great data point for where the market's at right now, but hopefully people cook and then hopefully it continues to cook harder the next day.
Well said. Well said. My final shout, because I haven't told this person, on VC. Jake, I know you're in the audience. I don't know if you could come on, but I just want to say congratulations. I know you just recently got married, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated.
Of course, of course. I think we should end the show on that note, Ross. What do you think?
I think so, Af. Only one final thing to do, which is what you think Bitcoin will be 7 days from today. I am going to go with $104,000 as my bet, and I'm going to lock that in.
Well, you're not playing around. All right, I'm gonna be a little bit less bullish than you, and I'm gonna say we're gonna tease it. We're gonna be at like 98,000.
That's a good guess, Waf. I love that. I think, usually I go in soft, but I was like, heck, we got the holidays. Let's do something crazy. But sounds good. Great episode as always, Waf. Great catching up. Happy holidays to everybody listening in. Go enjoy touching some grass, eating some good food. Until next time, we will see you.
Peace.